Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. Today on the docket, we have Robert Durst trial has been set. We have Swingset Susan, why snitches end up in ditches. Let's talk what is the Victims' Rights Act and the dumb criminal of the week. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch of Crime Talk, and thank you for tuning in. And as always, I will ask you, please subscribe. If you want to receive notifications of when we put out new content or go live, please hit that little notification bell, hit the like button, and please leave us a comment. I want to know what you think. First on the docket today, Robert Durst. He is the 76-year-old man on trial for murder. He is accused of killing his friend, Susan Berman, who was 55 at the time, in December of 2000. Now, for those who may not recall, Mr. Durst was profiled in a docuseries titled The Jinx. And at the conclusion of this docuseries, they have a hot mic series where he's in the bathroom where he is purportedly saying, "What the hell did I do? Killed them all, of course." And he was depicted as saying that. Well, now his attorneys are saying that once he's been charged with this murder, that the statement was edited completely out of context and out of order, and in fact does not say that at all. In fact, what they say he says is, "I don't know what you expected to get. I don't know what's in the house. Oh, I want this. Killed them all, of course. I want to do something new. There's nothing new about that. He was right. I was wrong. The burping, I'm having difficulty with the question. What the hell did I do?" That's what Mr. Durst says. Now, Mr. Durst, he has an unfortunate streak because not only did his friend die with a fatal shot to the back of her head, so although Mr. Durst is old and at the age of 76, probably won't be hurting anyone else, the district attorney is trying to make sure that she can prove her case and have him punished for the crimes that they have alleged. And as always, everyone here on Crime Talk is presumed to be innocent until and if they are found guilty. Now, our next story is about Swingset Susan. So there was a video that went viral, and what we know about this is that a woman was apparently at a park in Fort Worth and didn't want some teenagers who were there and happened to be Hispanic playing on the swing. She thought that they were too big. So the woman came over and told the teenagers, that they were too big and they needed to get off of the swing set. The teenagers said, "We're children, we can play here too." The woman, who was later identified as Samantha Louise Ellie, told the children that she was a police officer and that since she is old enough, she could probably be charged as an adult, so why don't you just get out of here? The Fort Worth Police Department continued their investigation. They ultimately prepared a photographic lineup or an array, and one of the teenagers was able to pick out Susan Louise Ellie. She is now in custody and being charged with impersonating a police officer.
No, you're not. If you think you're a fucking child, are you over the age of 15?
Who the fuck? No. Hell no.
Okay, well, I'm a fucking PD, so get the fuck out of here now if you're not here to play as a child. Read the fucking sign.
Oh my fucking god.
Now. Right, then you're not a fucking child. 13 or younger. Actually not, because you provoked yourself as a child.
She's not even acting like okay.
Are you? You said you're 16. Then you're not. I can literally arrest you as a fucking adult. Which is your choice? Are you a child or a goddamn adult?
Jenny, let's just go. Yeah.
She's not even on duty though. She's not on duty though.
Go now. Get out of here.
As you can see from the video, Miss Ellie certainly has a highly refined vocabulary that she uses in this video. We know Miss Ellie didn't fare well in the court of public opinion. We'll see if she can do a little better in the courtroom. The next case I want to talk about is the classic example of why snitches end up in ditches. And I'm not trying to get anybody hurt or anything along those lines, but I want to talk about a case where in Chicago, the police are on video doing a drug raid of a house. Well, guess what? The police got it wrong because the snitch, the confidential informant, apparently gave the police bad information and they went into the wrong house. And when they were in the wrong house, they arrested an 8-year-old boy, had him in handcuffs. Now, understand, he had done nothing wrong. The police officers would argue that they wanted to make sure that they were safe, therefore they handcuffed everybody. But an 8-year-old boy, and as you can see from the video, he is not a threat to anyone. Now, what's very interesting about this is that when a police officer goes and gets a warrant to do a raid on one's house, particularly when they believe that there is drug trafficking going on, the police have to be able to show that they reasonably believe that there are drugs in the house. And usually the reason or how they go about doing that is that they say that they recently sent in a confidential informant and that they purchased drugs from this particular person and that they observed drugs. Now, that warrant has to be executed in a timely fashion. Otherwise, it is known as what they call stale because things can change, drugs can go away. Well, in this particular case, they just got the whole house number wrong. All right. And what's significant of that is that when the police officer says, I received this information from a confidential informant, they have to basically vouch for the credibility of this snitch and state so in the affidavit, saying that he has worked for them on numerous occasions and never been wrong, or that this is the first time, but we have no reason to doubt him. Oftentimes on the war on drugs, the police would arrest people, small-time users, and say, listen, we'll let you go free if you give us information on the person that you purchased this from, kind of one level up. It was commonly referred to as 3 and you're free. Give me 3 controlled buys and you are free, and we'll arrest the other individuals in the particular case. And sometimes people would set up people just to get off of their own drug case by setting up people that were actually innocent or didn't want anything to do with it, and they got set up. That seems like what happened here. We've talked about this before. Jailhouse snitches, anyone that's receiving some sort of benefit for their testimony, their cooperation, their freedom is and should ultimately be very suspect in their testimony because literally they will put whomever they have to have on the grassy knoll in Dallas in 63 if it means that they will get off of their own case. The police got burned. Let's hope juries don't get burned and they judge snitch evidence and confidential informant evidence for what it is, highly suspect. I've received several requests from people who wanted to know what is the Victims' Rights Act, all right? Now, there's a federal version. I'm going to just simply talk about the state's version, but they're generally the same, and most states have a Victims' Rights Act today. And basically, what the Victims' Rights Act here, and referring specifically to Colorado, ensures that crime victims are treated with fairness, respect, dignity, and that they are free from intimidation, harassment, and abuse. The Victims' Rights Act also helps to ensure that the victims are informed of all the critical stages of the proceedings in the process, and that they have a right not only to be present for all of these hearings, but they have a right to be heard at all stages of the proceedings as well. So what does that mean? It means district attorneys, if it's considered a Victims' Rights Act case, usually if there's a victim, so like say domestic violence, any kinds of assaults, sexual assaults, things of that nature, the prosecuting attorney has to at least consult with the victim as to what they want to see and how the case should be resolved. The district attorney usually has kind of veto power If the victim doesn't want to go forward with it, that's not really their call, but the district attorney should listen to them. Additionally, if they show up and the defense wants to continue the proceedings, the victim has a right to have the court be notified. The victim has a right via the district attorney to notify the court that they're present and that they're okay either with the disposition, the continuance, or they're objecting to anything that's kind of taking place at that particular proceeding. So it is there. It's overall, we believe here at Crime Talk, it's a very good thing because anybody who has been the victim of a crime knows that you want to be heard, you want to know that you're being listened to, and you want to know that you have a voice. And that's what the Victims' Rights Acts have done. So hopefully that answers the questions. Received actually lots of comments regarding that. Next, let's talk about the Dumb Criminal of the Week contestant. And today he comes all the way from Montana. And the moral of this story is that if you are going to get Yellowstone National Park and Jellystone National Park, keep your characters straight. So Manuel Paz Sanchez Jr. was 32 years old. He's a California resident, and he was in Montana, basically passing through, saying that he was on his way to North Dakota. When the police stopped to ask him if there were any guns or drugs in the car, he refused. To make a long story short, the police continued to question him, and they were asking, where were you coming from? And he said, I was at Yellowstone National Park visiting Yogi Bear. Obviously, the police didn't buy that story. It was suspicious. Then next thing you know, they're searching his car where they find 8 pounds of methamphetamine. Mr. Sanchez was ultimately found guilty of basically being a drug transport. Although he has a lengthy criminal history, those criminal history points really added up on the federal sentencing guidelines, and he received a 15-year and 8-month sentence. Now, not just because he had drugs in his car, but because Yogi Bear. Yellowstone, Jellystone, keep them straight. I bet Mr. Sanchez will never make that same mistake again. So he's our contestant. We have 2 this week. We will see who is crowned the Dumb Criminal of the Week. And if they, in fact, are selected and they reach out to me at scott@scottreisch.com, I will send to them a Crime Talk mug at no expense to them because why? They've earned it. And if you think that you've earned the mug, not for being a Dumb Criminal of the Week, but a Crime Talk fan, you can hit the link below and get one of the mugs. If you get a mug, then send me your mug shot and we will put it up on our Facebook and Instagram page. That's all we've got for today. Have a great day. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.